Hello YouTube and welcome to Sci-Fi Productions. I'm here to help enhance your tabletop gaming experience. If you're new to this channel, I primarily focus on Paizo tabletop role-playing games like Pathfinder and Starfinder. And if you want to help me out, I have a Patreon and Discord, more info at the end of the video. Okay, so this video is going to get no traction on my channel, but I don't care. This is my channel. I want to talk about this. So real quick, welcome back to Inspired Campaigns, where we discuss how to create a Pathfinder, or in this case, Starfinder campaign inspired by pop culture media. And today I want to talk about a fun, short little sci-fi series that is cute, has a good message, and is just fun. Milky Subway, the Galactic Limited Express. If you haven't heard about this, it's a series of short YouTube animations that string together to tell one coherent story. It was originally made in Japan by Yohei Kameyama with some assistance, and has a lot of Japanese influences if you know where to look, but it has been dubbed into English if you prefer to view it that way. If you haven't seen it, go watch it on YouTube, link in the description, then come back and finish watching this video. The entire series is less than 50 minutes long, and it's a breezy watch, and it's just really fun. There is also a Netflix cut that has a few extra scenes added to add some context or jokes, but you don't lose any plot-critical information if you just watch the YouTube version. Side note, when I say a breezy watch, I mean it. The directing of this is just fantastic. Scenes flow naturally together, it's easy to follow the plot lines, at least for me, and it's just a fun watch. For example, one thing the series does multiple times is to time in-universe sound effects to coincide with the soundtrack, and it just sounds so good. A+ stuff. Oh, one last thing before we get started in earnest. There is a prequel that is subtitled but not dubbed into English. I will be referencing that in the video as well, but it's super short. It's only a few minutes long. As standard for these inspired campaign videos, first I'll talk about the plot so that everyone gets a feel for the world, or I guess galaxy in this case. Then we'll talk about the ancestries that would be appropriate for a campaign set in this galaxy, what classes would be appropriate, equipment, and then any house rules I would like to add. Finally, I'll have a review at the end. So I'm going to talk about the plot now, so if you don't want to hear it without watching the show, this is your final spoiler warning. So Milky Subway is set in a weird future where there are hover cars that drive on roads through outer space, in convertibles, and I guess they have no trouble hearing the car stereo in the vacuum of space? Mystery Science Theater 3000 rules are in full effect here, I suppose.
Just repeat to yourself, it's just a show. I should really just relax.
The story involves 7 characters, 6 of which the series calls delinquents who have been arrested for minor crimes. Well, minor crimes for the space future, it seems. The last character is the police officer in charge of their case, who assigns them to community service. Our 6 delinquents are Kanata and Akane, a pair of motorcycle gang members caught speeding, with Akane actually being the gang's leader. They do mention that the 2 got into a fight with the police, but it's unclear if it was self-defense or not, and in any case they are only charged with the speeding. Next we have Kurt and Max, a pair of cyborgs that are mercenaries and expert hackers. They work for a somewhat legal company doing odd jobs. They both used to have regular 9-to-5 jobs, but each quit because their coworkers viewed them as company property and never properly thanked them for their hard work, though I assume they still got paid. They got arrested for transporting an illicit substance, though they claim not to know what they were transporting. Finally, we have 2 main characters, Chiharu and her best friend Makina. Chiharu is a nice, breezy, carefree individual who tends not to stick up for herself, and Makina is a cyborg who is quick to anger and is overprotective of Chiharu. Makina and Chiharu were arrested for speeding in that convertible I mentioned earlier, ignoring the warning of police drones, and even shooting down a police drone. Makina is by far the most delinquenty of the delinquents, having been arrested 17 times before, mostly for assault and battery of jerks trying to hit on Chiharu. The story really gets started when these 6 are assigned to clean a train as part of their community service, the eponymous Milky Subway. However, as soon as all of them are on board, the train mysteriously takes off on its own accord as if some massive malfunction has taken place. What follows is the crew getting to know each other as they make for the front of the train in order to get control of it. All the while, the train continues to have more and more mysterious malfunctions. Initially, the vending machines stop working, ensuring the group doesn't have food, though the group does eventually get food from them. Then, a security robot goes nuts, zapping everyone who gets close, and then finally, the train locks down while the crew are in their respective bathrooms. Throughout each of these issues, the crew learn about each other, and they learn that they aren't really the delinquents that they thought they were. Turns out Akane is just super nice and really protective of Kanata. Kanata, for his part, acts like a tough street thug, but is actually a mechanical genius, and just no one gives him any credit for that. Akane even says he taught her how to fix her bike, but she still refuses to realize his potential until others point out how smart he is. Akane, while she seems big and scary, only really gets that way when her friend is in danger, and most of the time she's just kinda socially awkward. But in a subversion, it turns out that she is into one big pop idol singer. In other words, think of her as if she was a fan of this universe's version of Taylor Swift. Kurt and Max are hackers and mercenaries skilled in fighting, computer hacking, and mechanics. But even they are impressed with Kanata's skill. Their starting attitude is quite mercenary, requiring a high fee for helping out the party, though after Chiharu offers a heartfelt thanks for their services, they effectively cut their fee in half and don't charge for any further help. Recall that they quit their jobs because they thought it was thankless work. Lastly are the main characters. Chiharu, while she isn't perfect, is a kind-hearted person who usually thinks about other people's feelings. Her friend Makina is the opposite, needlessly offensive and jumping to violence. She uses her built-in stun gun at the drop of a hat, but she's also willing to do anything to help her friends if they are in real trouble, including paying Kurt and Max's high fees when they first start working together. Note here that they say 80 yen is a high fee. In real life, it would be less than $1, but in the galaxy of Milky Subway, it's actually quite a lot of money. Makina is also, presumably, the estranged daughter of some megacorporation called Titan. Everything on the train, including the train itself, is made by Titan. This is revealed towards the end of the series, though to be fair, it was foreshadowed well enough. The subversion here is that the rich social elite is the worst of the group, or at least the one with the biggest rap sheet, though she is still at her heart a good person. And that's the thrust of the series. It turns out that the malfunctions were actually one big malfunction, sort of. See, the main AI of the train has malfunctioned. Its primary function is to serve the public good by being public transportation. However, the AI has gone rogue and decided that all delinquents, ruffians, and anyone it deems unworthy are a social bad, and so must be purged for the social good. So it locks the crew in the runaway train, denies them food, tries to prevent them from taking control of the train, first through the security robot and then by locking them in the bathroom. The big kicker, though, is that the AI wants to let Makina go as she is from a so-called good, aka rich, family, and thus is not deemed to be a threat to the public. This is despite the fact that, remember, she's the one with the worst rap sheet and the worst crime, destroying a police drone. This is compared with simple speeding and being duped into unknowingly smuggling an illicit substance, and Chiharu didn't do any crime. She was just in the car with Makina when her friend was speeding and destroyed that police drone. So obviously this is a story about classism and judging people based on their social standing or their family and not from the content of their character. Or it's about making snap judgments about the lower class. Either way, it is an excellent examination of that situation. Oh, and in case you're wondering, the train sends a bunch of police drones to finish the job. The crew book it back to the end of the train to try and do a MacGuffin thing to escape. Makina gets shot but uploads her consciousness to the train, which turns into a giant robot because, this is a Japanese production, so of course it does. Side note, yes, the giant robot thing was also foreshadowed. And that's the end. The crew return to the police station and turn themselves in, and the police officer who's been on the case is willing to work with them. Makina is still a giant robot train, but that's about it. So, how would we play around in this universe? Well, let's start with ancestries, which is easy because there's only really 3. But before we get started, we need to talk about breathing in space. 2 of the 3 ancestries we see in the series are able to function in the void of space no problem. This one thing, breathing in space, is one of the few things that seem to separate the ancestries, so that's what I'm going to focus on. In particular, the series has what they call cyborgs, They also have these alien-looking guys that we'll talk about in a second, and those can survive in space. And they can also talk in space, I guess. Again, Mystery Science Theater 3000 rules apply. First of all, there are humans, should be obvious. Our police officer character is a human. Notice how she is the only one wearing a helmet when standing in outer space in this scene. Also, the pop idol is a human as well. You can see her on a billboard wearing a space helmet, so human, pretty easy. Next up are what the universe calls cyborgs. Kurt, Max, and Machina are all called cyborgs, though Machina seems to be actually full robot, as we see her entire body is robotic, and she uploads her mind to the subway car at the end of the series. How a full robot is part of a long-standing important family bloodline, I do not know, but this isn't a series where you ask questions. Now, as of making this video, Paizo has not yet released Tech Core, which will supposedly have SROs, or sentient robotic organisms, an ancestry of robots with souls. When that book comes out, it is likely that SROs will be able to survive in space, but until then, we can actually get by with androids. See, the Mod Fanatic android gets a free armor upgrade slot, and they can install an armor upgrade into their body, and that armor upgrade slot can be basic environmental protections, which lets them survive in space for up to a day, so we're good to go. I mean, the wording is a bit iffy, but I as a GM would allow it. However, we still need an ancestry for these guys. Now, I said they looked like aliens before, however, they are actually called superhumans. They are humans who have been genetically modified to be able to survive in space, though at the cost of some of their eyesight, I guess? Like I said, the biggest hurdle we need to cover with these guys is that they can survive in space. The entire thrust of superhumans is that they were designed to breathe in space, so I feel like that is the thing we need to focus on. Now, as of the posting of this video, there are only 3 ancestries that can natively survive in space other than androids. Novarians are tiny balls of living flame with weird telekinesis hands, and they have a base fly speed, so it seems like a no. Sarcesians can survive for a few hours in space, with feats to survive longer, but they also grow giant wings made of light in space, so probably not. And then we have Narufoids from the Absalom Station book. Listen, I know that these are weird snail people, but they have the cosmic trait, and they are small-sized, and you could probably house rule them to be medium-sized without causing any problems. And any weird stuff like their climb speed or their ability to go a month without food could probably be hand-waved away as more genetic modifications. Akane does get hungry at one point on the train, but she's also a straight tough, presumably without a stable home life, so maybe she legit hasn't eaten in a month. Listen, it's the best I got, so just say Narufoids look like this instead of this and call it a day. Next up, what classes would fit in this universe? Well, obviously Soldier, Envoy, and Operative should be fine. Shiharu acts like an envoy a decent amount, and several of the characters are skilled in unarmed combat, leading me to think that they would be good striker operatives. I don't think we have an example of a soldier, but I don't think that they would be a problem either. Also, the mechanic class probably wouldn't be a problem when Tech Core comes out. Kurt and Max have a little hacking buddy item, and at the end of the series they take control of the security robot, so I can easily see them making that their mechanic robot companion thing. The problem comes with spellcasters. Listen, there are no spellcasters that we see in the series. That being said, I personally wouldn't mind it. This is clearly a world or a galaxy where realism takes a back seat to the rule of cool. We have convertibles playing the radio in the void of space on a road in space where it takes about 5 hours to drive between planets. I don't think the realism police are ever even getting near this franchise. If you want to include spellcasters, I wouldn't mind it. I'm also okay with Solarians if you reflavor them. Machina has a built-in stun gun arm, which could be her stellar moat, and I bet punching with her robot arms would hurt, so reflavoring Solarian stuff as robot armaments would work. Talk to your GM about that. If you want to include Pathfinder classes, we see several characters be pretty proficient in unarmed combat, so Monk might be a good fit. And as I always mention in these kind of videos, if you want to represent medical super science, I would go with the Alchemist, in particular a Chirurgeon. Again, we don't see that kind of thing in the series, but I wouldn't be against it. Let's move on to equipment, and surprise, surprise, I don't think there's any equipment that would be exclusively off limits. We see a lot of stun guns, the police drones have some sort of energy weapon. Side note, the drones don't actually have integrated weapons, they have like little hands that protrude and fire off normal energy blasters, so that's fun. We see hacking toolkits, wrist computers, blasters, spacesuits. The train itself could be considered a spaceship. Really, the only thing here is that there is no faster than light drift drive, and it's just a universe that doesn't have to worry about going faster than the speed of light or relativistic time dilation. Actually, that segues into the house rules real quick. What house rules would I have? Well, first off, if you are going to use the stats for the Neurophoids for superhumans, maybe just let them choose to be either medium or small sized. Obviously, let them look like this instead of this, though that's more of a reflavoring thing. And then space travel would just be reconfigured to not have drift drives, and instead just fast spaceships that don't have to worry about time dilation or the speed of light, which I know will get some astrophysicists all angry, but as I keep on saying, Mystery Science Theater 3000 rules. As always, here is a summary of how I would run this campaign up on screen. But let me know what you think. Would you like to try out this campaign, maybe as a one-shot? I'm willing to do more of these inspired campaign videos, but they do require a lot of work, so let me know if you like this kind of thing by sharing it around. Hey, as a reminder, I have a Patreon. I'm going to try and post something fun there once a month, but honestly, it's just a way to keep this channel financially viable. Just a few bucks a month, and that will help me buy new equipment and keep this channel going. Let me know what you think. And as always, I have a Discord server. Drop by and say hi, I would love to talk to you. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That tells not only me, but also YouTube that you like this kind of content and would like to see more. And until next time, thank you, good luck, and happy gaming.